So the other day, I did a video and I was talking about knowing your whys, not just the big why that drives you, but the whys behind all of the things that you do in your business, the marketing tactics, the marketing strategies that you choose. And I was thinking about this more, and I did want to take a minute to kind of go back to the know your why big theory, right? The top of the line version of know your why. But I want to pose the question to you a little bit differently instead of know your why. And what I learned is it's really, really important to know what drives you. What's driving you? When I had my franchise, I used to train new franchises. The franchisor had asked me to step in and hired me to train new franchises. And one of the things that became very, very clear as I worked with folks was if you're doing what you're doing, if you're running your business, if you're starting your business from a place of anger, a chip on your shoulder, and I'll show them, as opposed to a place of desire to create and do something expanding and different, you're going to run into problems. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. There was one gentleman, I can't remember his name. I remember he's from St. Louis. And he was a pharmacist, which I completely understand that entire profession. What they're doing to these folks is just so, it's not good. It used to be such an amazing profession, and now it's much like all the rest of healthcare, just so challenging. But he had a series of jobs he hated. And he would, as we would work on what he was going to do, and we'd go to lunch and we would chit chat in between trainings and what we were working on, he would nonstop complain about how everyone was so unfair to him, how every job that he had had recently was so unfair. That was the way it was unfair. What they were doing wasn't fair. And it got to the point where he just quit, and he was very angry about it. Totally get it. Totally understand. I'm not saying that he didn't have some valid points. But when you're mad at your boss, when you're always mad at your boss, and then you go into business for yourself, the problem that you run into is now you're the boss. And so if you have this pattern of being driven by anger and being driven by unfair and being driven by they're mean to me, nobody gets it, I'm smarter than everybody else, so why are they in charge? All of the things that go through people's minds, you're gonna have a hard time growing your business. As opposed to the people I would meet who couldn't wait to dive in because they couldn't wait to make something happen. They couldn't wait to expand, learn, serve, help people, learn new things, right? They were coming from a place of inspiration and creation. Kelly Roach, I've heard her say it this way: if you're not leading from inspiration, you're leading from desperation. It's so, so, so true. So how do you tell? How do you tell? And the way that I tell, and the way that I've heard other people describe it, is where is your energy coming from? Is it all in your head, or is it in your heart? Are you leading with your head and I'll figure it out and I just have to do this and or are you leading with your heart from a place of inspiration? Now, as I was putting notes together on how I wanted to share this today, one of the things that I'm completely aware of is there's a lot of amazing people who have accomplished amazing things from the standpoint of wanting to prove someone wrong, from a standpoint of wanting to overcome, whether it was embarrassment for being poor as a child, whether it was overcoming an accident that left them disabled. And I understand starting out. I do understand starting out a journey from a standpoint of proving to others you can do something. But I would argue, as I think of those examples that people I've talked to, At some point, the switch flipped. And so even if they started their journey from a place of, I'll show them, nothing's going to hold me back, at some point, inspiration around what's possible took over. And they moved out of the negative feelings and into more expansive, exciting feelings. So that's a question you have to sit for with a minute and ask yourself. To use Kelly's term, are you leaving from inspiration or are you leading from desperation? The way that I always described it, are you running from something or are you running toward something? And here's why this is a really big deal. If all you're trying to do is alleviate pain, you will stop as soon as the pain stops. Think about this. If all you are doing is trying to alleviate pain, you will stop as soon as the pain stops, right? We take Tylenol when we have a headache, but once that headache is gone, we stop, you don't take it anymore. So if you're running away from something, and if you're trying to prevent pain, you will stop trying the second that pain is alleviated. On the flip side, if you are being driven by a need to create, by a desire and an inspiration, there's no end to that. There's no end to that. That's like taking vitamins versus painkillers, right? There's no end to the inspiration. And so you will keep going and you will iterate as new ideas come and new inspiration comes, and you will continue to grow because you're not being driven by something that has a stopping point kind of inherent in it.